This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And tonight we're back in St. Louis. It kicks off a 10-game homestand. One of the best teams in the league. The Washington Nationals make their lone visit. It's the Nationals and Cardinals on Fox Sports Midwest. The schedule for the Cardinals prior to the All-Star break, the 10 games, 3 with Washington, 4 with Miami, 3 with the Mets, then a long road trip after the All-Star break. With Al Rabowski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes is here as well. And welcome to Cardinals baseball. The Cardinals have won 4 of 5, and it's been due in part to the emergence of good offensive play, and in particular, Randal Grichuk.
Yeah, Randal Grichuk has been up for the last 5 games, and he's got 3 home runs and 9 RBIs. Of course, it was yesterday when he had his best game, as he was 3 for 4 with 5 RBIs and one of those 3 home runs, and playing very well defensively.
What you're going to see now, though, is the adjustment he has made, a shorter swing and the adjustment on an 0-2 slider. That 2-strike pitch, the game winner from yesterday in Arizona. Randal Grichuk is in the lineup tonight. So is Bryce Harper. He is one of the game's best. Harper will take on Mike Leake. Leake has had the best of him. Does it carry over tonight? Baseball is coming up. players in baseball. Just 24 years old, already a 4-time All-Star, a Rookie of the Year, and an MVP. The face of a franchise, one of the faces of the sport. And after a down 2016, Bryce Harper has come back with a vengeance. But Mike Leake has been Harper's kryptonite. He's just 3 for 16 against the righty. Leake and the Redbirds coming up on Fox Sports Midwest. Who gets the start tonight for the St. Louis Cardinals in a packed house here in St. Louis and Busch Stadium as the Washington Nationals are in town for their lone visit to the Gateway City. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light, famous among friends. By Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest lasting full-size pickups on the road. Find yours at your local Mid-America Chevy dealer. And by Menards, save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. The 1967 World Champions Beer Stein presented by Budweiser. That's the giveaway tonight. The Nationals in town, one of the best teams in baseball. They have a 9.5 game lead in the National League East at the start of play today. Mike Leake, the Hyundai pitch arsenal. Last time he pitched against the Nationals, he picked up a win. He was squared up against Max Scherzer. He allowed 2 first-inning hits and then at one point set 19 straight down.
Yeah, that was his first win of the year. He's in a little bit of a funk right now. He has not won a game in June or won a game a little bit more than a month.
Brian Goodwin, Michael Taylor, Bryce Harper here in the first, then Ryan Zimmerman, Daniel Murphy, Anthony Rendon, Stephen Drew, Jose Lobaton, a switch hitting catcher, and the pitcher Tanner Roark is batting ninth. A very good offensive club in the Nationals as they lead in nearly every category in the National League. That includes batting average .278 and a high on base percentage near .350. And a high fly ball lifted out to center. Tommy Pham is near the wall. Leaps. He caught it. He caught it. He's done it again. He robs Brian Goodwin. And what a catch by Tommy Pham in center.
Well, he timed his jump perfectly. Gets that glove over the wall and hauls it down. But look at the concentration. He knows where he is on the wall and is able to bring that one back in. He is such a good athlete.
You couple that catch with the one in Arizona. Which one is better? Both happening this week for Tommy Pham. Here's Michael Taylor. Line shot off the glove of Jed Jerko, and a base hit for Taylor.
Odd corner for sure, isn't it? Playing in a little bit, cuts down his range, but hard hit ball. Of course, the Nationals have been waiting for Taylor to take charge for quite a while. So rifle right at Jed, flex over towards DeYoung, but did the Rice thing and just put it in his pocket.
In steps Bryce Harper, the #1 vote getter for the All-Star game, which will be announced on Sunday prior to the Nationals and the Cardinals on Sunday night. Bryce Harper, Arcia in the driver's seat, 3 for 16 against Mike Leake. But 2 of those 3 hits have been homers. 1 out and a runner at first. And a ground ball that's hit to second. Out there on to first, and the throw is wide by Paul DeYoung. And Harper goes down. Something not right with Bryce Harper. He was slow getting down the line, and he's down on both knees.
Trey Turner broke his wrist being hit by a pitch. Now Harper going out, doesn't look good, and Dusty Baker probably got a sick feeling in his stomach right now.
And remember, they've already lost Adam Eaton for the entire year.
Yeah, I mean, Eaton, they acquired from the White Sox, very costly. See if we can watch him go down the line here. Really couldn't really see anything. Wasn't running particularly hard. Not jumping in the bag. Did he alter that motion or something when the ball came by him?
Looked like the ball may have hit him as he was going down the first base line. Off his foot or his toe. But I agree with you, initially coming out of the box not running very hard at all. Take a look if it hits his toe or his foot. Sure does.
Yeah, change direction right there, so right on the toe.
It's his left foot that is hit. So Washington club dealing with injuries in only a game above 500 here in the month of June. The way that he's walking, it looks like he may be done for the night. Who knows? And as a baseball fan, you hope that's not the case.
Well, not only, you know, if Harper has to come out of this game, but as a baseball fan, I was really looking forward to seeing Trey Turner. You know, he was going to stay in. But Trey Turner was injured when we were in Washington.
Well, Trey Turner, this was yesterday, leading the league in stolen bases. The senior circuit, hit by a Pedro stroke fastball up and in. He is out indefinitely with a broken wrist, and that's a huge loss for the Washington Nationals.
Leading the National League in steals and really on quite a tear of late. Remember, he had 4 steals the other day and 2 steals last night before he got injured.
Here's Ryan Zimmerman, just 2 for his last 17, but he would be a candidate for the MVP of the first half of this regular season. He's batting .337, that's second in the National League. 19 home runs and has driven in 62. The franchise record for home runs is .234, and that's combined with Washington and Montreal. And Zimmerman's tied for first in that category with Vladimir Guerrero, tied for first in doubles in all-time play in Washington Montreal Expos franchise history with Tim Wallach.
He owns just about all the records right now. And talk about an MVP candidate. He's also, you can almost say he's got competition on his own team. Who's the best player on their team?
Harper, Zimmerman, Daniel Murphy.
Yeah.
Rendon has had a solid first half. That's tapped foul. The Cardinals defensively around the horn is presented by Dobbs. Grichuk, Pham, and Piscotty in the outfield. Jerko, DeYoung, Garcia, Carpenter on the infield, and Molina is behind the plate. Two balls and two strikes. And he waves at it and strikes out. Well, Tommy Pham has been put in center field with the heel injury to Dexter Fowler. And Tommy Pham has come up big. This one was in Arizona. That saved a run, maybe two. This saves a run. Tommy Pham in center, doing a little bit of everything. Warm-up tosses here tonight. Matt Carpenter will lead things off, followed by Tommy Pham and Stephen Piscotty. The Jet Jerko, Yadier Molina, Randall Grichuk, Paul DeYoung, Greg Garcia, and the pitcher Mike Leake is batting ninth. Monday pitch Arsenal with Tanner Roark.
He struggled here in the month of June. 1-3 with an ERA over 8. Had a very good start to the season, 3-0 in April. And some people are wondering, is the ERA and everything catching up to him from playing in the World Baseball Classic?
Member of Team USA. There's a strike to Matt Carpenter, who was supposed to be a part of the World Baseball Classic, but was out with a oblique and back issue. He's batting .230, 14 home runs, and he's driven in 40. He's just 4 for his last 36, but in that time still getting on base a lot. That's the idea. Get on base, you have a chance to score. He has walked 15 times in this stretch of just 4 hits in 36 at bats. Two and 1 the count. Take it even further, he's been on base 30 times in his last 14 games. So while the average has dipped, the on base percentage has stayed high.
And he'll make a pitcher work.
The 3-1. Strike to Carpenter. Roark in his last start, it was Sunday against the Reds. He allowed 6 runs over 6 innings. The Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks. Did beat the Cardinals back on the 10th of April. Gave up 5 runs. 3 of those were earned. That's fouled back.
Roark got to the big leagues back in 2013 and was 7-1. Then in 14 he was a 15-game winner. 2016 he couldn't make the rotation.
The 3-2 pitch. Popped up left side and out of play. So it gives you an idea then, because of some of the guys that could start, they were moved to their bullpen. And yet this year, 2017, it has been a nightmare for the Washington Nationals, the back end of their games.
Talking with some of the coaches down there, and I said, well, you guys got a healthy lead, and they said we should be up by 30.
Blown a lot of games, high bullpen ERA, only Detroit is worse. This has been one of the issues with Roark, to get 2 strikes on a hitter, but he has not, at least recently, been able to put them away. As you get a look at the bullpen ERA, 29th in baseball here in 2017. A 3-2 pitch to Carpenter. Inside. And a very nice plate appearance by Carpenter. 9-pitch at bat. Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks. Was it a strike? Yes, sir.
But you know, your catcher's set up away, and you throw the ball on the inside part of the plate because you missed. A lot of times that strike is not given to you.
Here's Tommy Pham, and the fans appreciating his recent efforts, and moments ago that outstanding catch in center field. He has hit in 4th straight, and a pinch hit single, and scored 2 in the Cardinals' victory yesterday over Arizona.
It's fun to watch what he's doing right now, and still striving for more.
The short lead at first, and the 0-1 pitch. Around the Horn is presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Goodwin, Taylor, Harper in the outfield. Rendon, Drew, Murphy, and Zimmerman on the infield. Lobatone is behind the plate. Daniel Murphy is having another great year at the plate, but has already committed 8 errors at second base. He had a total of 9 a year ago. Not known for his glove, but the man can hit.
Yes, he can. Early in his career, when he was with the Mets, trying to figure out where to play him, but had the breakout postseason with the Mets, signed a free agent.
Base hit into right field. Harper, by the way, with 6 outfield assists. So keep that in mind all weekend long. The great arm in right field of a former catcher in Bryce Harper.
Ball up over the middle of the plate. Lobatone wanted it away. Mislocation. These guys will make you pay.
Stephen Piscotty, in his career, with runners in scoring position, he has been one of the game's best. Going back to the midway point of 2015, his career number is 361. Runners at first and second. And there's strike 1. The Cardinals, for the most part, against Arizona, played a clean series. And it's something we haven't seen on a consistent basis all year long. You had the catch by Tommy Pham, the catch by Grichuk in left. That was a game-saving catch at the time. Yesterday early was Stephen Piscotty, the ball that was hit by Goldschmidt into right center. That was a tremendous play. Just a cleaner style of baseball than we've seen.
Remember also too, the one game that they lost, they should have won that one. So they should have swept Arizona. Carlos Martinez robbed of another victory. He struck out 10 through his work.
He's matched up with Max Scherzer on Sunday night.
That'll be a marquee event.
No balls, 2 strikes on Stephen Piscotty. The check swing did not go. The Cardinals have scored 35 runs over their last 5, so an average of 7. Mark Carlson, Manny Gonzalez, Chris Segal, and Fieldon Colbreth, your umpires tonight. And 4 of the 5 of those games they've won. Slowly hit to Rendon, who gloves and makes the play. Runners advance to second and third.
Wanted more, but at least was productive in advancing both runners.
Jed Jerko is 1 back of Matt Carpenter for the team lead in RBIs. 2 more yesterday. In the series against Arizona, a lot of doubles were hit. 3 of them off the bat of Jerko. Also had a bases loaded walk. His average at .298 with 12 home runs. Leadoff walk to Carpenter. Base hit by Pham and right. Piscotty, the soft grounder to third. Runners at second and third and just 1 down. And a fastball taken outside. One thing that Dusty Baker likes to do, we saw it in Chicago, we saw it in Cincinnati, certainly in his first time managing with San Francisco, he will go deep with his starters. This year, though, it might be a byproduct of how poor the bullpen has been.
Yeah, I think that the appeal and called strike. This look and see what Manny Gonzalez saw.
The starters are averaging over 6 innings per start. That's most in the major leagues. And the 1-1 pitch to Jed Jerko. So out of necessity with the poor bullpen, that may be a reason why a lot of these starters stay in these games.
I think it is a valid point. Got some veteran guys that know how to pace themselves a little better too.
The 2-1. Well, for Mike Matheny and the Cardinals, this really is a huge homestand in terms of length. How many games here at Busch Stadium, but where the Cardinals are in this season, they need wins and they've got to start winning here at home. This match is their longest homestand of the year, 10 games.
And I think, like you say, we're taking days off the calendar of the trade deadline. Make a decision. What are you? You sit pat, do you buy, you sell?
Mike Matheny and the Cardinals just 3.5 games out, yet 4 games below the 500 mark. And Chicago 1 back. Milwaukee leads it at 42 and 39. Mike, he himself at 498 career wins, which is 5th all time in St. Louis Cardinals history. The 2-2 pitch outside.
With 14-game hitting streak on deck.
Off the end of the bat, soft liner to short.
It's a catch.
Ruled a catch. And Jerko will be out. Catch made by Stephen Drew. Cardinals will take a look at it, but I'm sure they're going to realize that this is indeed a catch.
You got to reach in, and obviously he reaches in trying to extract the ball, drops, so it's deemed a catch.
So Molina with that 14-game hitting streak in which he's hit .316 during the streak. returns to the lineup after he got an off day yesterday afternoon. He has 8 RBIs during this hitting streak, which is the longest currently in the major leagues. And he takes ball 1. A day off for Molina probably is a vacation for everybody else. Comes back energized that next day. Eric Fryer's been the winning catcher primarily when he gets a start. One ball and 1 strike on Yadier Molina.
Fryer's 9-5 when he starts behind the plate.
Quick delivery that time by Roark. Came set and did not pause all that long. And delivered to Yadier Molina. Long first inning. This will be pitch number 27. It began with a 9-pitch at bat by Carpenter.
It's a big point, Dan, when you talk about a team that's struggling in their bullpen. You can make that starter get that pitch count way up. Make it a short evening for him, get into that bullpen. It's got to be the game plan.
Here's a 1-2 again. Molina hits it out to center field. Taylor going back and makes the catch. The Cardinals strand 2 and miss a early opportunity to break open. Murphy, Rendon, and Drew coming up. Blues fans are invited to free and public practices and scrimmages at Blues Prospect Camp. 30 of the Blues draft picks and promising minor league players are participating in workouts and scrimmages open to fans. Camp runs through tomorrow at the Ice Zone at the St. Louis Outlet Mall. Get details at stlouisblues.com. Many of the prospects you see right there, and so is head coach Mike Yo, who's downstairs with Jim Hayes. Jimmy.
Yeah, Dan, prospect camp is underway. Some of your guys are here. So, Coach, has anyone stood out to you?
Actually, a lot of guys have. It's been pretty impressive. Some of the guys are here tonight, in fact. But, you know, our first rounder from last year, Tage Thompson's had an unbelievable camp. Jake Wallman's a kid that's going to come in. He's really going to push for a spot. And then the guys that you want to be good have been good.
You guys were very aggressive draft night in terms of trades. You pick up some key pieces. You say goodbye to some familiar faces, but I know overall you feel like you guys improved?
It's always a tough part, and you head into every off season and you almost anticipate change, and you don't know how it's going to affect your group. Obviously, both Letts, Revo, very big parts of our group, real close friends with everybody. But, you know, in the end, I do believe that we improved our group. You know, I think that we've added in some areas that we needed to add. And not only that, but we also got better for the future as well as right now. So I think it was a huge weekend for us in Chicago, and we're looking to build off of that now.
You put together a new coaching staff. Some of the guys are with you tonight. I guess as you build a team, there has to be the same sort of cohesion with the coaching staff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been great this week spending the time with the coaches and just getting their ideas, their input, but as much as anything else, just seeing that it's going to be a real good fit. And I think it's going to really energize our group. We've got a lot of guys coming in with a lot of great experience, both coaching and playing. A lot of great personalities and a lot of things to share with the players. I think the players are going to feed off of that.
Now, the guy next to you talk about rolling the dice, adding him to your coaching staff, a guy who liked to stir it up on the ice. How do you control him in the coaching room?
I don't. Maybe with Craig Berube. I know one thing. We've got the toughest staff in the league, so not too many people are going to mess with us. I'm going to have a big mouth next year. I know that much.
How about the team as it stands right now? You guys feel like you're ready to take the next step?
Yeah, we do. You know, we said this a lot at the end of the season. I know that it's going to be a challenge for us to make the playoffs next year. You know, our division's a grind. It's going to be a battle all year long. But that said, I also believe that, you know, when we get into the playoffs, I really believe that we're a Stanley Cup contender, and I'm excited to build off of what we did last year.
Ott shot me a dirty look, so I think I'm going to get out of here. Thank you, Coach, for the time, Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome. I can only protect you for so long.
Dan, I got to go.
Steve Ott there on the left, and Mike Yeo, the head coach of the Blues. Good stuff, Jimmy. Thank you. A double by Daniel Murphy. He's at second base, and here is Anthony Rendon. It's a fly ball. Backing up, Tommy Pham makes the catch. Murphy tagging up from second to third. Crush home runs, dominate in your very own Derby competition. The official MLB.com Home Run Derby game on the App Store and Google Play. Download Home Run Derby for free today.
Trey Turner out. Stephen Drew gets a chance to play a lot of shortstop, and very sure-handed, good defensive player, but he's been a pain in the side for Mike Leake. 5 for 9.
And he's swinging a pretty good bat right now, too. 10 for his last 22. Infield is drawn in. Well, it's been a very busy day here at the ballpark concerning the front office of the Cardinals, and Jim will have a visit with Mike Gersh, who is now the general manager of the Cardinals, and John Mozeliak, who takes on a new role entitled President of Baseball Operations, and that'll be coming up later in our ball game. Here's a 2-0. Drew to second, play at the plate. Garcia, a strike. Slides right into the glove of Yadier Molina.
That's the purpose with playing the infield in. Ball right at you. You really cuts down your range, but if the ball's right at you, you make the play at home. Nice, easy, friendly game. Saw that video play on the board before the game of Ray Lankford wiping out Darren Dalton. Don't have those anymore. Darn.
Jose Lobaton, a switch hitter, and that's pulled foul. There are some numbers that just jump off the page. This should be one of them, where Matt Wieters is primarily their main catcher. When he's behind the plate and starts, the Nationals are 40-16. And when Lobaton has made a start, they're 6-5. I mean, Matt Wieters has been a good signing late in the offseason for Washington.
Remember, he was delayed a little bit. He had a accident, cut his forearm, and a lot of clubs kind of shied away from it. Very lucky that he didn't do permanent damage, nerve damage to the arm. But that was a good signing, as you said, for Washington.
Here's a 1-1 pitch.
Reeder's
also a switch hitter.
Why is he not in the lineup today after those numbers?
Scheduled day off, I would imagine.
I would imagine.
Two balls and one strike. 2-2. Washington played a day game yesterday and then got into town around 10:30 last night as the Cubs came back to defeat them. Again, another blown opportunity by the bullpen of the Nationals. Just missed. It was the 6th loss after leading after 8 innings for the Nationals, and that's most in the game today. Runner off with his pitch. That's Stephen Drew. 3-2 with 2 outs. Got him on the outside corner. Leake has his 2nd strikeout. Lobatone with words, and the home plate umpire. Those two get into it as we head to break. Paul DeJong is due up second for the Cardinals here in the home half of the second. BJC Healthcare difference maker have been the call-ups for the Cardinals, whether it be Tommy Pham, who's now a fixture every day in the lineup, Sierra, John Brebbia, Paul DeJong, Chad Huffman, Luke Voigt, all have played at some point or another an important role for the Cardinals.
Sure have. Injury or someone gets sent down, it creates an opportunity for somebody else, and Mike's just saying, hey, take hold of it, grab it and run with it. You never know, do you? Remember, Vince Coleman was coming up for a weekend. He was told, you're only going to be here for like just a weekend. And he said, no, I'm not. I'm going to stay here and prove that he was too valuable to send back down. And a great career.
Here's Randall Grichuk, his 3rd 3-hit game of the year yesterday. Big home run as he drove in 5. His home run at that point in time, the Cardinals were trailing in the game. Breaks his bat, hit to short. Stephen Drew, the high throw, the stretch by Ryan Zimmerman.
High throw, and let's see Zimmerman. Stretch, holds on that bag. Remember, it was almost criminal. It was painful to watch him throw when he was at third base. Bad shoulder. But boy, is he a good offensive player.
There's Paul DeJong, who's riding an 8-game hitting streak. 10 for 34 to 294 average. during the streak, a couple of home runs, and now it looks like he's going to be the primary shortstop, at least for a while, with Aledmys Diaz down in the minor leagues.
Just quiet confidence.
The one thing you look at with Diaz, Al, is that if he's a lesser defender, and let's call it like it is, his range is not where it needs to be. You could live with it if his bat would play in the lineup, but his bat, even though he had the most hits, a lot of those were infield hits. Didn't see the power and the drive that we've seen last year, and if that gets corrected, he'll be right back up here.
Exactly, and I think long term, I don't think he stays at shortstop. Possibility of him being a third baseman, but either way, he's going to have to hit like he did last year.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. DeYoung is swing and a miss. Go big when the Cardinals go big. Coffee, fountain, frozen drinks, any size drink, 50 cents the next day at On the Run. Redbird scores 6. Keep the celebration going and stop by On the Run tomorrow for a thirst-quenching win. You earned it. First strikeout for Tanner Roark. 2 outs, and it brings in Greg Garcia. Been a tough month for Greg, but with more playing time, might get that timing back. He's had a really tough June. 4 for 42, and the average has dipped to 202.
As you say, with more playing time, you kind of find your timing again. Then when you go back to your normal role of coming off the bench, which he's done very well, and you feel like you got a fighting chance. What's the latest on Wong?
Looks like we will not see him until after the All-Star break. The 2-0 pitch.
And last Sunday, the thought before the club went on the road trip is that possibly even this weekend we were going to see him. So don't want to come back until you're 100%.
The 2-1. 2-2, and the Cardinals, I think it's gone under the radar. It's been quietly talked about, but they miss Colton Wong. When he's in the lineup, they're 5 above 500. When he's not, they're 9 below. And at the time when he left, led the club in average and on base percentage. So I mean, you're talking about a guy that was contributing, not with majestic home runs and the big blast late in games, but he had been a consistent, solid player in the lineup.
His average, what, 290? But 2 stints. Very little time in between those stints on the DL. So get it taken care of, get it all healed up, and then play out the full year. It's tough enough to play this game when you're 100%, which rarely you are.
3-2 pitch, missed inside. And the second walk issued by Tanner Roark. Mike Leake at the plate. 156 his average this year. No home runs. He's driven in 2.
He can help his own cause. One of the better hitting pitchers.
And I'm sure it's frustrating for Roark to walk to the 8th place hitter. You at least get Mike Leake through the lineup. There's ball 1. It's a warm, it's a muggy night here in St. Louis.
Dan, that's where so many pitchers today get in trouble, because they don't have fastball command. Everyone had the ability that if they fell behind the count, or you got the 8th place hitter, you could spot the ball to where you could throw strikes.
Tale of 2 different seasons for both these starters, Tanner Roark and Mike Leake, in terms of their ERA. Plus 2.32 for Roark. The 2-0 pitch, 3-0. Tomorrow's game will be on Locally, Big Fox Channel 2 here in St. Louis. Eric Karros will be the analyst for that game, and he'll join us in the third. And he walked him. Back-to-back walks. And this is where the Cardinals would love to make him pay. Three walks in 2 innings for Roark, which includes the 8th and 9th place hitters in this lineup.
I see already 45 pitches.
See Luke Voigt there as the pitchers are giving a sign to Mike Leake. I talked to Luke before the game, and you really think about his at bat yesterday on an 0-2 pitch. Cardinals had nothing going on late in the game, down, and he strokes a double. And that started the rally, and he said wasn't really sure if he had a slider or a curve. I had seen the curve on the first pitch. He made me look foolish. I thought it was coming on 0-2, guessed right, and put a good swing on it. And that was a really, in my opinion, that was the at bat of the game. That starts the rally, and then Grichuk's home run. And then you tag on after that.
Sometimes a young kid, up here, they can energize you too. When they do something a little special. He's 2 for 2 now as a pinch hitter. Luke Voigt, plus a bruise in the back.
I know I'm getting older now, Al. He said, boy, Dan, I've been wanting to shake your hand forever. I've been watching you ever since I was a little kid. I said, Luke, how old are you? 26. I said, yep. Been doing games since you've been 5 or 6 years old. What happened to us, Al?
He had to keep on adding 20 plus for me. Well, I told you the other day at the hotel when we arrived in Phoenix, I saw him, congratulate him, was shaking his hand, and he no, I want a hug. I kind of, okay. These players are a little different now.
Great to see, though, a hometown kid play for the hometown team. Luke Voigt. 2 balls, 1 strike on Carpenter. Luke was drafted, by the way, as a catcher, and he said he's dropped a lot of weight. He said, I'm continuing to do that. I don't want to drop too much, but the reason I'm doing that is just to get more quickness defensively, which has been pointed out by the major league staff. 2-2 the count. The outfield is straight away. Matt Carpenter, by the way, we were here at the ballpark early, was taking ground balls at second base before the game, and
yes.
Mike Matheny saying, well, you're seeing the same things we're seeing, which is Luke Voigt swinging a good bat, Jose Martinez. We have Dexter Fowler ready to come back off the DL, and so we're just trying to keep him as flexible as we can for our lineup. So taking some ground balls at second base.
He's an all-star second baseman, all-star third baseman. That can be determined at first, but really can help. The problem with Luke is that he primarily is just a one-position player, and that's first base.
The 2-2 pitch to Carpenter. High fly ball, center field. Taylor going back on the track and makes the catch. So the Cardinals strand 2. We head to the third. Washington and St. Louis, and there's no score. weekend with the Marlins battling the Brewers tomorrow at 2:30 only on FS1. Then the Nationals take on the Cardinals at 6. That's on Fox, locally here, Channel 2. You can watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Eric Karros will be the analyst for that telecast tomorrow. Always great to see you here in St. Louis.
I enjoy coming to St. Louis, a great baseball city, and brought my son along, and we enjoyed the town today.
I heard your son is 6'5". Is that right?
He's tall. He's a tall, he's a young man,
player?
still growing. He pitches and plays a little first base. So,
has he got a chance?
Got a chance. He's playing high school ball. That's where we
go.
just go one day at a time.
Tanner Roark is at the plate. Then Brian Goodwin and Michael Taylor. Here's a 0-1. And a ground ball that's backhanded by Carpenter. Takes it himself for the out. Give me your general impressions. We'll start with the Cardinals. What have you thought of Mike Matheny's club?
Well, look, they're still in this thing, but it's not because they've played great, right? It's because nobody's run away with anything in the division. Are there places that they can improve? Obviously. And it starts with the middle of the lineup. More production in the middle of the lineup, specifically that third spot. Starting pitching, real good at the beginning of the year. It's still good. Is it as effective as it was? I don't know. And then the back end of the bullpen, it could probably use a little improvement. But, look, they've got some youngsters up right now, and they're still in this thing. I mean, only a couple games out. So from that standpoint, you got to be encouraged. Does that mean you go out and buy at the deadline, or do you sell? That's going to be the great question.
There's Brian Goodwin at the plate, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. He was robbed by Tommy Pham back in the first with a terrific catch. May have taken away a home run. Now, when you think of the Cardinals, too, you think about what they may do with this lineup. You talk about the middle of the lineup kind of guy. Are there those kind of guys that, as you watch this game from a national level, that are out there potentially to go get?
Well, I don't know how many are out there. It just depends on who starts to fall out. Look, you go to Detroit and Martinez out in right field. That guy's going to impact somebody, right? But what do you have to give up, and what is the price? And so if you're St. Louis, you're looking at two ends. Yes, we want to always compete, and we are. We're a team that expects to go to the playoffs every year.
Here's a ground ball hit right side, sliding for it, Garcia. Nice play.
It's a heck of a play by Garcia, getting over there. He must have seen Matt Carpenter taking ground balls earlier today, right?
To his left, fine play there by Garcia. But you mentioned it too. Are you in it or are you out of it? You don't know. You're hovering around 500. So I guess then the question is there anybody in the Central that you see taking this and running with it?
No, I don't see anybody right now. Everybody expects the Cubs to do it right, but the Cubs are not they're not the team that they were last year. And quite frankly, a lot of things happened right for them last year, and they're not having those good fortune. Whether it's just defensively, or guys having the types of years. So I don't think anybody runs away. But before you mortgage the future, I think if you're St. Louis, you have to say, okay, is it just about getting to the playoffs, or is it how do we compete with the other top National League teams? Can we make a deep run? And right now we're looking at one of the top teams, Washington, and then you go out west with the Dodgers.
It's off the glove of Leak, and a base hit for Michael Taylor. He'll stop there at first base, and it brings in Bryce Harper. You've been around this game a long time, and as you get a look at Leak, almost come up with it.
Yeah, almost makes an athletic play right there, but deflects it away, and now you got to face Mr. Harper.
When you think of Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, Manny Machado, where do you put Harper?
I say Harper's number 2, but he's probably, as far as he's got that violent swing, he plays a little more, he plays recklessly, right? And so as a fan, I like to watch that. I like to watch running into walls. I like to see that big swing. Mike Trout for me is still. Oh, there we go.
Pick off of Taylor. And no argument there from the Washington Nationals. Quick feet, quick move of the athletic Mike Leake on the mound. Gets the elbow, gets the out, sends us to the bottom of the third. Taylor picked off. It's time now for the Unlimited Baseball break. It's brought to you by T-Mobile. We forget just how young, too, Eric Karros, that Bryce Harper is. He's 24, Judge 25, Trout is 25. It's amazing.
You know, well, you think Aaron Judge, right? He's as, you know, he is the face of baseball right now as far as all the attention. He's 25 years old. These other guys have been in the league for 4 or 5 years.
Right.
You know, I mean, it really is nuts. I mean, you're talking about one of the superstars as far as this game has ever seen, Bryce Harper, and what he's accomplished so far at this early age.
Here's Tommy Pham at the plate. Base hit to right, first time up. Cardinals have really gotten a lift here from Tommy Pham.
Oh, I mean, defensively and offensively. And you always wonder, you know, the thing with the eyesight and how is that going to play out. And he seems to have that under control. He's getting to play and he's producing. I mean, physically, he's something.
Yeah.
He really is.
The Cubs won the World Series last year. And if not maybe for a foul ball down the left field line, we're talking about Eric Karros being a part of the Chicago Cubs in lore and history. And Dexter Fowler, part of that a year ago. Cardinals will get him back hopefully next week. I've always wanted to ask you, what was it like that year in Chicago?
The exciting
for you?
year. You know, I'll always remember a September series we had with the Cardinals in Chicago. I think it was 4 or 5 games.
It was the doubleheader game too, right? Did you have a doubleheader against the Cardinals?
Yeah, no, that was something. I mean, that was the whole season. And you know, I'd always played in the Dodger-Giant rivalries, and I always thought that those were the rivalries. Yeah. But to experience the Cubs-Cardinals was something that I'll never forget. It was a great experience. And that year was magical in Chicago up until Game 7. Game 6 wasn't good, and then Game 7 was even worse of the championship. But
Eric Karros will be calling the Fox National game tomorrow. Cardinals and the Nationals, Channel 2 here locally. And in that game, it'll be Michael Wacha and Gio Gonzalez. It'll be Carlos Martinez, Max Scherzer on Sunday night.
Yeah. Good pitching coming up here.
So the 4th walk issued by Tanner Roark, and another check on Tommy Pham, who has 9 steals to lead the club. Where would you put Martinez in the category of Scherzer and Kershaw, and some of the best in the National League?
So stuff-wise, on any given night, he's up there, right? Just the consistency isn't there yet, and you know, he's been better. If he can just, I guess the thing, if he can become more reliable, and he will. I mean, he's still young, and that's one of the things. Because he's got electric stuff, you say, gosh, why can't he dominate all the time? I will say this, I do appreciate the hair now, as opposed to what we were featuring early on in the year.
Here's Carlos Martinez. He'll go on Sunday night. Wacha and Gonzalez tomorrow on Fox Channel 2. Piscotty at the plate. Runner at first is Tommy Pham. Steven grounded out to third, first time up. As you look around baseball, can the Nationals figure out and try to rebuild what has been a horrendous bullpen?
Well, it's not because of lack of trying. You know, I think that goes without saying. They can go all the way back to November, and they were trying to go after for Holland, who ended up in Colorado, Kenley Jansen. They made offers too, and you know, just because you want a guy doesn't mean it's going to happen. So it's not like they just said, oh, wow, we've got a bullpen problem, or we've got a bullpen to address. They've been trying to address it, and for that ball club, I would be shocked if ownership doesn't open up their checkbook, because we're not talking about just getting to the postseason. We're talking about winning a World Series.
Runner goes, and the ball gets away from Bobatone. It's a walk to Stephen Piscotty, and that's 5 already for Tanner Roark. So you played under Dusty, right? In Chicago?
I did. I played in Chicago. I played. Dusty was our manager.
What was it like playing for Dusty Baker?
So, great players manager, and he, you know, he didn't forget what it was like to be out on the field, to go through the ups and downs, to grind. And he treated everybody, whether you were hitting third in the lineup or you were the last guy on the bench, everybody was important.
Yeah.
And I think that if you look at all the teams that he's managed, he's created a family atmosphere. Everybody's felt like that they were a big part of the team. They would contribute, and that's why he's had success. I mean, you know, he is right now. He's borderline Hall of Fame manager, and if he can do something magical this year, I think he's a shoo-in.
Been to the World Series with San Francisco, so close with the Cubs, postseason play with the Reds, and Washington a year ago. You live on the West Coast, so you probably saw a little bit of Jed Jerko in San Diego.
Well, so I'll tell you, I got to stop you. So I saw Jed down at the cage before the game, and I had to tell him, I said, yeah, you're one of my favorite players on the Cardinals because I've got you on my fantasy team.
You'd be a great fantasy player.
Yeah, no, he was smiling. Well, it's one of the things I ended up getting involved in fantasy this year. It's the first time I've done it, and it's enabled me to stay up to date on everything, because if you're not every single day in the entire league. So anyhow, but Jed's been great. I mean, what a find for the Cardinals. He's comfortable here, and defensively and offensively it's been outstanding.
How does a guy do that? You know, you go from being a bench player in San Diego to now starting to play tonight, the most home runs in the major league since the All-Star break of last year.
Well, it's one of those things about it's opportunity, and you know, the other thing too is just because you don't fare well in one place doesn't mean you can't play. It just means you don't play well in that specific city. And you know, a new breath here. He's important here. Look at as far as playing in front of fans, whether it's here versus San Diego. I mean, it's not comparable. And that's not to take anything away from San Diego, but you're talking about, you know, some of the best fans in all of baseball.
1-2 the count here on Jerko. Hit a soft liner to short first time up. Eric Karros will be on the call tomorrow on Channel 2 here locally for Game 2 of this series. Takes a pitch low, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
You know, and I think when you look at this Cardinals ball club, at the end of the day, there were a lot of, you know, coming into this season, a lot of expectations for the younger players to keep improving and improve, you know, more than just incrementally. And, you know, it just hasn't happened as quick as they would have liked.
The 2-2 pitch. You wonder about the presence in the middle of a lineup. Do they have that? Jerko provides some of that. But you do miss a Holiday. You miss an Adams who's been ridiculous in Atlanta.
But that's where I go back. You know, Adams, I mean, okay, he's great in Atlanta, but I know there was, you know, should he have gotten more playing time here? But the reality was he wasn't getting the playing time here. And so, hey, you know, you give him an opportunity somewhere else.
3-2 pitch. Off the bare hand of the pitcher, Roark, and the bases are loaded for the Cardinals. That's one. If he lets it go, it might turn into 2.
Well, we saw that last inning, right, with Mike Leake kicking a ball, and here right now, this is probably a double play, right? I mean, it just boom right up the middle. Shortstop is over there. You know, if you're the pitching coach, you hate to see that too. Anytime a pitcher goes after a ball barehanded. Even more so though when that's a double play.
No activity in the Nationals bullpen. Roark has walked 5 and now in a bit of trouble with the bases loaded, nobody out. And here's Yadier Molina. Yadi still amaze you?
Well, again, just with his ability to just go out and catch every single day, the wear and tear, still able to produce offensively, and that's something that, you know, I had an opportunity to play with a Hall of Fame catcher, Mike Piazza, who is very offensive, right? The beating that guys take behind the plate, to just go up and still be able to hit, I mean, you don't appreciate that enough. And Molina, he's a Hall of Famer.
Here's the 0-1. I'm glad to hear you say that from a national broadcaster's perspective, because some debated as to whether or not he'll be a Hall of Famer. He's coming in tonight with 1,659 hits, 5th most by a catcher with 1 team. And he's only 5 away from Jorge Posada fourth most. Number 1, Johnny Bench, 2,048 with the Cincinnati Reds as a catcher. Defensive metrics, certainly has been a defensive player that dominated his position for close to a decade.
Right, he's able to change the game from behind the plate in a number of different ways. And you also talk about the World Championships, the impact that he's had, the fact that he's been with one organization. I think you look at the total sum, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Here's a 1-2 pitch with the bases loaded. Roark, who has walked 5, that is a career high for him.
You know, one of the things you look at with Roark when he is missing, it's not just the walks. Obviously, then the location. You know, he may want a fastball outside. He leaves it over the inner half of the plate. It gets whacked. It's a base hit. But again, it all goes back to not having the ability to locate tonight.
2-2 pitch. Yeah, he's missing. He's missing by a lot.
I mean, it's not even close. I mean, you got to. Yeah, Dusty. Poor Dusty doesn't want to go to that bullpen yet.
Can't blame him.
Mike's hoping that Yadier swings at something over the plate here.
3-2. May have chased ball 4.
Again, that's tough though when you face a guy like Roark or any pitcher that's having trouble with location. Okay, you try to be patient, you try to, and then boom, they'll hit something right on the corner. It'll make a perfect pitcher's pitch, you know, and you just say, "Geez, guy can't hit the broadside of a barn yet. He's gonna throwing right on the black on me here."
(3-2) again. Up the middle, base hit. 1 run is in. Here comes Piscotty. He'll score, and it's 2-0 St. Louis on the single by Yadier Molina.
They see this pitch probably off the plate as well. Yadier goes out and gets it, shoots it up the middle, and furthers the legend. You know, you look at this, this all goes back again to that ball off of Roark's hand. Piscotty gets a good jump. He's hustling in there all the way.
Well, you made a great point in the fact that Dusty Baker probably doesn't want to go to his bullpen, but at some point he may have to. And there's Jacob Turner who starts to throw. He's a St. Louis native. Starter for the better part of his career and a long man right now for the Nationals. Here's Randall Grichuk. Grounded out to short. Have you seen a difference in the swing and approach here with Grichuk?
I haven't seen it, right? You know, everybody talks about maybe he's not chasing the pitches up in the zone. For me, going down to the minor leagues wasn't so much a work on the mechanics. It's go down, breathe a little, and then you come back up, you start over. You wipe the slate clean. Kansas City did it with Mike Moustakas a few years ago. And it's not so much you're going to change things as much as it is you get to start over when you come up.
Runners at first and second. The 1-0.
You know, this game, it's so mentally taxing, and when there's failure, I mean, it can almost be paralyzing. And I think, you know, we saw it with Kyle Schwarber over in Chicago. They eventually sent him down, not because he needs to work on things, but just we'll get a reset.
Here's a 1-1. And that's what he talked about too. He said he went down, got with George Greer, who was been kind of a hitting guru, if you will, in the Cardinals organization. And one of the things that they did was clearly wipe it clean. Don't worry about it. Reset. Here's a 1-2. So, I mean, that pitch right there, even if it's a foot outside, at times you'd see Grichuk chase. that slider, which he has not been doing as much of here lately. And if you hang one like yesterday, you can knock it out of the ballpark.
Yeah, I've seen a few of the balls that he's hit.
Tremendous power.
Yeah, physically, this guy's a specimen.
The 2-2 pitch. And a strikeout for Roark, his second in this game. Brings in Paul DeYoung, who's at shortstop. Cardinals, as you know, Eric, have made a lot of changes. Aledmys Diaz going down, an all-star a year ago, and similar for him. Reset, and now it's Paul DeYoung.
Well, and with Diaz, look, the reality is that you could run him out at short as long as he was hit and doing well offensively, and you know that wasn't the case so much this year. And defensively, look at I saw a play the other night in Arizona. He was a little short getting to a ball, and you just can't have that. Yeah, 80 pitches already. That's not good, is it?
No,
not
sir.
in the third inning.
No, sir. So 1 out and 2 on. Count of no balls and 1 strike on Paul DeYoung. DeYoung with a grounder that's hit to short. The turn by Murphy is not in time. The Mets and Dodgers with home runs tonight. Now both teams have 50 in the month of June. First time in the history of baseball 2 teams with 50 or more in the same month. And I'm sure you've taken notice of this. I mean, it's incredible the amount of power in the game right now.
Well, it really is. And, you know, I mean, a lot of it is, you know, have guys changed the approach? Is it the, you know, the swing path? Are we trying to hit home runs? Are we letting us, you know, the strikeouts? Okay, who cares if we strike out? I mean, so many different theories. But look at the guys are bigger, stronger. There's, you know, there's got to be something to be said about the ball being something, because it is flying out at record pace.
So 2 outs, runners at the corners for Garcia. Kept in front by Lobaton.
And you know what I'll say, going back to the home runs, the thing that's amazed me the most this year, it's not the amount of home runs, but it feels like every home run that's hit, it's 450 feet. I mean, it's not like we're, you know, just getting something over the fence. It's, you know, bring back Big Mac, right? I mean,
this guy at the plate, Greg Garcia, about 3 weeks ago had the longest home run on StatCast registered in baseball this year.
I mean, really? Yeah. See, I never would have thought that.
Now, that was for the Cardinals. It was 462 feet, which now has changed after Grichuk's home run last Sunday, but it was in the top 10 in all of baseball.
Right. Yeah, 400. You know, it just. I could see Aaron Judge at 400,
sure.
but I don't. Right, it just something's going on. Whatever it is, it's entertaining.
It is entertaining. That's a base hit into left center, and Garcia makes it a 3-0 St. Louis lead.
Nice job of taking that pitch and shooting it over the shortstop's head. Driving in the run.
You always felt the Cardinals have had those type of players. Daniel Descalso, Aaron Miles, Greg Garcia.
Schumacher, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Skip.
Terrific player here. 2 outs, 2 on, 3-0 the lead for the St. Louis Cardinals. Mike Leake at the plate, who walked his first time up. Leake sends it into right, but that'll carry to Bryce Harper. Nicely done.
Good stuff. Hey, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck the rest of the way tonight, huh?
Good luck tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
Don't mess it up.
Enjoy the day off.
You're only on national TV. Don't get nervous. Yachty loving it. The Cardinals a 3-0 lead as we head to the 4th. Louis Cardinals baseball is brought to you by your St. Louis area Volkswagen dealers. The Stan the Man statue at the main entrance of Busch Stadium. It's been a busy day and afternoon here at the ballpark. Let's check in with Jim Hayes. Jimmy.
Yeah, a couple of promotions. I'm with the new president of baseball operations, John Mozeliak, and the new vice president and general manager, Michael Gersh. Mo, we'll start with you. You guys take a lot of pride in front office continuity, and you guys believe that that has helped you be successful in recent years. Is this just part of that?
Yeah, obviously Mr. DeWitt looks at the continuity that we've had over the years and feels there's value to that. And, you know, more importantly, I think he trusts our leadership and where we're going. And overall, when you look at where our department is and what we're trying to accomplish, this is really just trying to take advantage of really both the resources Gersh and I bring to the table. And so I'm looking forward to maybe a little bit day in and day out, different activities and things that I can focus on. And in Gersh's case, he gets the opportunity to oversee the day-to-day of baseball operations.
And Michael, you were saying when you first moved your family to St. Louis, that's when you began to learn about what St. Louis Cardinals baseball means to this community. And you said you took this job as a responsibility. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't take long spending time in St. Louis to realize that this is more than just a professional sports team in town. I mean, this is sort of part of the culture and part of the fabric of the community, and it's a franchise that our owner has been associated with for multiple generations in his family. It's a generational thing for our fans. It's more than just a job. It's more than just a promotion. It's a responsibility.
And Mo, your new title, as you told it during the news conference today, gives you the opportunity to focus on long-range projects, long-range improvements to keep the Cardinals on the cutting edge. What types of things will you be working on?
Well, I think, you know, one of the topics or themes that we've always had is what's our competitive advantage. And when you look at what we're trying to accomplish moving forward, there's things that there's decisions that have to be made on what we should be investing in. Where are those innovations? What's going to separate us from others? That's something that we have to investigate and decide how to deploy our resources.
And Michael, one of the new responsibilities that you'll have dealing with the media, where do you see the biggest challenges in that arena?
I just in general dealing with the media, dealing with our friends like you, Kat, will be the challenge.
No. A lot of good questions, though.
Oh yeah, tons of great questions. As I already experienced that this afternoon, lots of really good questions.
Are you going to have to change your demeanor at all? Because I think you're widely considered a nice guy. Dealing with the media can change that real quick.
Yeah, a few people have mentioned that, and I don't plan to change my demeanor, but rumor has it that dealing with the media might change it for me, so we'll see.
Stay gold, Pony Boy. Gentlemen, congratulations on the promotions, and thank you for the time.
Thanks, Kat. Thanks, Kat.
Danny?
All right, Jimmy, thanks. A walk and a base hit, and now it's Daniel Murphy. Runners at first and third. Michael Gersh had worked under John Mozeliak the last 12 years. This being the 10th season for Mo as the GM of the St. Louis Cardinals. Well, Daniel Murphy is having another incredible season. Came in third in the league in hitting at .336 on the road, batting close to .400. He has punished the fastball. We'll see how the Cardinals pitch him this weekend. There's a fastball backhanded by DeYoung. The turn, and it's a double play. Run does score. That's Bryce Harper as we take a look at the State Farm double play.
Notice the strong feed from DeYoung to Garcia. Just fires it over there, right chest high, completes it, quickly gets it over to first base, and to trade the 2 outs for the 1 run.
Makes it a 3-1 St. Louis lead. Here's Anthony Rendon. Fly to center, first time up. 16th home run of the season yesterday against Chicago for last year's comeback player of the year in the National League. And the 0-1. Not only is baseball going to miss Trey Turner, but also Dustin Fowler with a ruptured patella tendon. Highly thought of prospect for the Yankees. Diving stop by Jerko. The tag by Carpenter. Well done on both ends. One third baseman robs another. Jerko to his left. Finished on the other end by Matt Carpenter. Is your chance to complete the Final Out bobblehead series. That day, 30,000 fans 16 and over receive a Tim McCarver bobblehead commemorating the Final Out of the 1967 World Series, courtesy of AT&T. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. Our score 3-1 as we move to the bottom of the fourth. And the new pitcher in is Jacob Turner, who's pitched with the Tigers, the Marlins, Cubs, most recently the White Sox. He is a 26-year-old from St. Charles, Missouri.
Jacob has to be excited about getting this game. Dusty has to be disappointed that his starter can only go 3 innings.
Jacob in high school, Westminster Christian Academy here in St. Louis. That's popped foul and out of play by Matt Carpenter.
They had a couple associate coaches at Westminster, didn't they? Mike Matheny and I think Andy Bennis both had kids going there at the same time, and so Mike is very well acquainted with Jacob.
Used to catch him all the time.
Yeah.
Well, we mentioned the bullpen issues this season for Washington. It's the second shortest outing by Roark this season. He went 2 2/3 at Miami. Allowed 6 runs in that game. That was an 8-7 loss. And tonight he just gives Dusty Baker 3 innings. So Toyota, key to the game for the Cardinals, try to get to that bullpen that has been banged around this year.
On the 5 walks, Roark gave to the Cardinals 4 hits. Actually, they're lucky that they're only down by 2.
Carpenter lines it in the gap in right center field. That will go all the way to the wall. Picked up by Michael Taylor. And it's a double for Matt Carpenter.
Carpenter jumps on this fastball and just drills it out into right center. Remember the doubles machine a couple years ago? He had 55 doubles to break Sam Musial's Cardinal record.
The offense has been on an uptick for the Cardinals. They've won 4 of 5, averaging 7 runs a game in those 5. The numbers on Turner, the Hyundai pitch arsenal. They took 2 of 3 from the Diamondbacks, Arizona's second home series loss the entire year. So just maybe it's something that gets this team going.
Yeah, they're playing very well. Of course, what's also corresponded with this little uptick in the offense is the starting pitching has been good again. Went through a whole cycle of the rotation with all having quality starts.
Chop to third. Rendon looking back. Carpenter, and Pham is retired. It's been a year in which when the offense is rolling, maybe the bullpen doesn't. Starters get going. Offense is, not putting out the kind of numbers that you would hope. It just hasn't all clicked at times for the Cardinals this year.
No, it hasn't, but there's enough time to figure it all out and get everything firing the same cylinders. Nobody wants to take charge in the Central Division, so it's still up for grabs.
Piscotty grounded out to third back in the first. Walked and scored in this ball game as well. Turner with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
It's not the first time he's pitched against the Cardinals, so those butterflies are over. Now he's just trying to, hey, if Roark only wants to throw 3 innings, I'll try and make my bid for a starter.
And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Gio Gonzalez 7-2 tomorrow, the left-hander, against Waka 4-3. And then Martinez and Scherzer. Get a ticket, come on down and see that pitching matchup. In time is called and granted. Here's a 1-1 pitch to Piscotty. And that gets away. Carpenter advancing to third. Wild pitch charge to Jacob Turner. Washington will bring the infield in.
Just trying to stab at it, no weight shift or drop it to a knee to try and golf that ball and keep it in front of him. He's had a tough time back there tonight.
Two balls and 1 strike. Bryce Harper in right field, very deep for Piscotty.
Left some passes out there to the right field. Definitely too deep.
Three and 2. Fastball, and he missed low. Cardinals have received 6 walks in this game.
First for Turner, but all these walks. Capitalize there, just 1 out. Got to get that runner in from third at the very least.
Jed Jerko, soft liner that he hit to short. Infield hit back in the third and scored a run. Runners at the corners for the Cardinal third baseman. the 0-1. Jerko with a drive into right center. This ball is a one-hopper over the wall and a ground rule double. A run will score. Nationals catch a break. That will send Piscotty back to third, and Jerko drives in his 40th of the year.
Carpenter and Jerko are tied for the team lead in RBIs at 40. They would be 5th in the Washington Nationals RBI list. Right down the middle of the plate, and he smoked it out to right center, bounces up and into the stands for the ground rule double.
Molina with a bases loaded single that brought in 2 back in the 3rd. Runners at 2nd and 3rd, and still only 1 out. His RBIs 32 and 33.
Mike Maddox, pitching coach for Dusty Baker, out to talk to Turner.
Jed Jerko now with an RBI in 5 straight games. Team high for the Cardinals this year. That matches his career best. He's done it a couple of times, 2013 and a year ago. Infield in for Molina.
Very confident right now, just the way he's swinging the bat. Longest hitting streak in baseball right now.
Extended that to 15. And he's done it again. Base hit into center. 1 run in. Jerko racing to the plate, and he'll score. Molina has driven in 4 for St. Louis.
Nice and easy, isn't it? Just making contact, hitting them where they are. Little slider right there. Concentration. Takes the ball up the middle. Jerko races on home. The second 2 RBI hit in a row for Molina. Now see if we can't get Jerko, or excuse me, Grichuk.
0 for 2. He's grounded out to short. Struck out.
He's going to still strike out. Probably more than anybody will like, but hopefully he start making more contact.
Grichuk out to deep right. Harper back near the wall and makes the catch. Molina back to the bag at first, and look at that throw by Bryce Harper on a fly to first base.
Pretty much was standing flat-footed when he threw that ball back in also. And you mentioned a catcher in his youth, and of course when you say youth, he graduated from high school early, went to a junior college so he would be eligible for the draft, and then because of the lack of success, the Nationals had 2 back-to-back generational picks. The top pick in the draft, I think they did pretty good with Strasburg and Bryce Harper.
To me, that's the big thing. When you look at the Cardinals and the Nationals, DeYoung, another example of that, wasn't a top draft choice. There are a lot of top picks out there for Washington as DeYoung sends it high, deep, left, gone! Paul DeYoung, 2-run homer. Having some fun tonight here at Busch Stadium.
He knows in spring training, Paul DeYoung has power. You think about it, Dan, that's his 6th home run here, but he had 13 at Memphis before he got here. So 19 on the year. 6th here in the big leagues, and boy, he catches that breaking ball perfectly. Noted for having the most power in minor leagues, and he's shown it.
It's a 5-run bottom of the 4th for the Cardinals, and now an 8-1 St. Louis lead. Greg Garcia has been on base twice. And Leake has been given this 7-run cushion and maybe more. DeYoung extends his hitting streak to 9.
He's hit 280.
Done a nice job.
He really has. I mean, he's not in awe. He handles himself very well defensively. When he makes an error, he doesn't let it eat him up. Just gets ready to make the next play. Very confident. Can't play this game afraid. And you can't play it when you're afraid to make a mistake. You got to learn from mistakes.
Two young guys there in DeYoung and Voit. 3-2 pitch to Garcia. And the strikeout. The Cardinals pick up 5, highlighted by a 2-run homer from Paul DeYoung. Now his 6th this year, and he's driven in 16. 8-1 Cardinals. Paul DeYoung is added to that list with his 2-run shot, and the Cardinals have an 8-1 lead. Stephen Drew leads it off. At the time, the Cardinals had the infield in for Drew, runner at third, a tight ball game. He grounded to Garcia. Daniel Murphy was off on contact, and an easy out for the Cardinals at the plate. Here's a 1-1. Ground ball that stays fair. Carpenter to Mike Leake for the out. Friday, July 7th, 30,000 fans 16 and older can beat the heat in style with the help of a one-of-a-kind Cardinals Performance t-shirt, courtesy of Apple Vacations. That's July 7th, cardinals.com/promotions.
Good news from Cincinnati. The Reds shut out the Cubbies 5-0.
Mike Montgomery made that start for the Cubs. He's now 1-5. Feldman picked up the win for Cincinnati. Jose Lobaton struck out looking, first time up. Grounder hit to the right side. Garcia, 2 away.
That's what you want to see from Mike Leake. You want to see these ground balls. Soft contact.
Jacob Turner, as Dusty Baker will try to get some innings out of him in this bullpen. Cardinals now have scored 8 or more runs in 3 straight home games for the second time in Busch Stadium 2 history. One ball and 1 strike.
Cardinals have 8 hits in this game, but they've also received 6 walks.
Turner taps it foul. I know he's probably not enjoying what's happening right now, but it's got to be a thrill to come back to your hometown and pitch in front of family and friends, which Jacob Turner is doing here tonight.
Well, you also have a chance to make your numbers look a lot better by extending a few innings. Shutout ball.
Strikeout for Mike Leake. Leake with 3 of those tonight, and it's 8-1. Scored 6. As a matter of fact, it's 8 here tonight. So tomorrow you can score any size coffee, pound of frozen drink, just 50 cents at On the Run. When hunger strikes, the new fresh snacks and sandwiches from On the Runway Cafe. Available at your nearest On the Run. You earned it. Jacob Turner in his second inning of work. 8-1 our score in favor of the Cardinals. It'll be Mike Leake, Matt Carpenter, and Tommy Pham for St. Louis. Leake has walked and also flied out to right. And the first pitch is tapped foul. So the big news today about John Mozeliak and Michael Gersh, both have been signed through 2020. Gersh had been under John for 12 years. All directors now report to him. Michael Gersh. Leak, center field. Caught. And as he mentioned in Jim's interview, they're trying to figure out how do we separate ourselves from others in baseball. John Mozeliak was able to take a rough situation at the time with Jeff Luhnow and Walt Jocketty, calm the waters, more of an analytically based look at the players and how they draft. The bench wanted to see that one go.
He does have 6 career home runs.
Here's Carpenter. It's fouled back. Bill DeWitt said we needed to develop good people, keep giving them an opportunity. We are aware that we needed to have people move up if we wanted to keep them in the organization. And John Mozeliak was saying earlier today too that there's a couple others that are on his staff that he feels will be GMs in other spots before it's all said and done.
It's a real compliment to the entire organization. But Dan, we go around the country and most people look at the Cardinals as an example of what they want their organization to look like. So it's no surprise.
For those that don't know the story of Michael Gersh, he was doing consulting work in Chicago, and he reached out via email at the time to John Mozeliak and trying to figure out how you evaluate and develop a draft pick. Mo gave him a follow-up piece of advice and some work to do. That time the game was changing analytically, and they took a flyer on Michael Gersh, who always wanted to be a general manager in baseball. So he had not had a baseball background with the exception of loving the sport. But this is where the sport is going right now. You're
absolutely
highly educated individuals that can break it down analytically, look at trends and patterns in the game. He is one of the brightest people in sports. Carpenter with a high fly ball into right.
And I think when I got into pro ball, you had wealthy businessmen, owners, but they almost treated their the baseball and the organization like a hobby, and you really didn't have all the detailed everyone, it was just kind of was on the game, and minor leagues were this and that and everything, but you never looked at all the money that you could be made. When they started, the salaries started to escalate, then all of a sudden they started acting like baseball instead of like a business instead of just a hobby, and started getting bright people in to come change things and have a business plan.
There's the 0-1.
Didn't cost much to get into a ballpark. You didn't have the menu that you have today. You don't have the licensing. All those different things weren't thought of because it was treated kind of as a hobby. It was a $1 billion industry instead of $10 billion like it is today.
The 0-2 to Tommy Pham. See that Turner and Lobaton trying to get on the same page here. Pham with a base hit into right field, a walk, and a ground out. When Mo was asked today about the biggest change, what's happening with this transition, he said basically the day-to-day, the analytics. You must have people and multiple people handling different roles. There's a swing and a miss. So Michael Gersh is your GM. Mo moves up. It's 8-1. defense for the Cardinals. First at bat of the game and in the series, Tommy Pham. A play at the plate, easily done by Garcia. That one a little bit tougher, sliding to his left. The pickoff by Mike Leake. Jed Jerko to his left to rob Anthony Rendon. Clean baseball is what we talk about.
Makes a difference when you make all the plays in the field. You get a little timely hitting. You get a well-pitched game. Have a little fun, can't you?
Here's Brian Goodwin. He was robbed by Pham. Rounded out to second. Made his debut last year with the Nationals. 9 extra base hits in his last 17 games. And the 1-2. Finish the thought on John Mozeliak. I did ask him who has the ultimate say on trades. So you got a GM, now you have a director or president of baseball operations, and he said we will work collectively together, but ultimately you can look at me. Folks in Big Mac Land enjoying baseball, and check out this summer the new frozen beverages at McDonald's. He said we want to expose Michael Gersh to more of the GMs, more of my contemporaries. Not that he doesn't know them, but get to know them better, develop those relationships, and he'll help in that transition. And I love what he said. He said when we do well, I'll take all the credit, and if we mess up, it's Gersh's fault. Joking, obviously.
Maybe.
Joking, obviously.
Well, it'd be a bad joke. They've been working together, like you said, for the last 12 years. So, in many ways, just a title change, but the same responsibilities, and maybe a little more for Gersh to widen his horizon.
2-2 the count. Bill DeWitt will talk daily with John Mozeliak, and now you'll have Michael Gersh doing that more and more. It's been a heck of a staff for a long time that's made great decisions in the draft. Primarily their decisions in free agency have been the right ones. But it comes down to winning, and under John Mozeliak, 10th year as the GM, in that time frame, second in baseball in regular season wins. The winning percentage in all of baseball is second, and he's had 2 World Series appearances. He's won a title, 4 division championships. So, I mean, there's a lot of success right there in that room.
And you could talk about even bigger success or a more extended time if you look just through the ownership led by Bill DeWitt Jr. Greatest successful period of Cardinal history, and there's a lot of great history.
There's Bryce Harper.
How rare is it to have a Mike Leake 2-walk game?
Harper will turn 25 in the middle of October. The 4th most home runs before the age of 25 is Bryce Harper. Number 1 on that list was Eddie Matthews, 190. Then Mel Ott, Ken Griffey Jr., and Harper. We're watching what should be the beginning of a Hall of Fame career. We were in Nationals Park when he signed, and at that time, at the age of 18, it was remarkable to see the BP display that he put on. Incredible power. He's already signed for 1 more year, and then after that he's a free agent to be. Down season a year ago, but back up there again in 2017.
And what ownership group wants to make him a partner?
Ground ball could be 2. Glove by DeYoung. Garcia to turn. 6-4-3 on the double play. Is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Final day of the first half of the season. Cardinals take on the Mets. That Sunday, 30,000 fans 16 and older take home a unique Cardinals snapback hat. And that pitch is taken low. Lots of great giveaways this homestand for the Cardinals, beginning tonight with the beer stein. 2-0 the count. Tim McCarver bobblehead next weekend as well with the Mets here. And the performance t-shirt next weekend. 2 balls and a strike. This will be the second inning of work for Jacob Turner. Hit the other way, but foul.
When Turner was a few years ago was with Detroit, I didn't remember him throwing 95, 96.
Even harder at times too. Mentioned that this is second inning of work. This is inning number 3 after 3 innings from Tanner Roark. 7 hits, 3 runs by the starter, and a rough first inning of work for Jacob Turner. Gave up 5 in the bottom of the 4th. 3-2 pitch. And a strikeout on the inside corner.
It's his 3rd strikeout, but he could be a savior to the bullpen if he goes out there and pumps a few more innings. And after that rough first inning, retired 5 in a row.
The Cardinals snapback hat coming up next Sunday. That's July 9th when the Mets are in town. Cardinals.com/promotions. Jed Jerko, an infield hit, run scored back in the third. RBI double in the fourth. The 1-0 pitch. Talking with Dexter Fowler today in the clubhouse. He's progressing, hopes to be back in the lineup before the All-Star break. It's a heel issue that he's been dealing with since his rookie campaign. He had spikes that didn't fit him properly, caused a heel issue, and he thinks it's caused other issues with his leg. He had a tear in his hamstring last year, a quad issue. But some tough decisions coming up if Pham and Piscotty and Grichuk all continue to hit. Good problem to have.
Good problem to have. It's odd how when the decision has to be made, a roster decisions, usually it's made for you. Somebody gets hurt, somebody does something.
Matt Carpenter was taking ground balls at second base, and as we mentioned earlier, might give the Cardinals a little bit more flexibility when those players do come back. 0-2 the count on Yadier Molina. He has 4 driven in tonight. Pair of singles, one in the third, another in the fourth. Here's the 0-2. And that gets away. Jerko advancing to second base.
At times it looks like Turner, right before he throws, he kind of jumps at the hitter, really pushes off and overthrows it. Wild pitch.
Runner at second is Jerko. Molina with a fly ball into right center. Catch made by Taylor. And Jerko advancing from second to third. With 2 outs, a runner at third, the battle will be Randall Grichuk.
The ball hard. Last time up, line to right field. That was against Turner.
He's also grounded out to short and struck out.
Good pitch in on the hands there. Notice that Grichuk a little quicker, shorter to. Stroke is a little shorter. It seems like it's a lot more under control. It's got quick hands. Short to the ball, and all hitters like fear of being jammed, and he's quick. They've really got to set up for a breaking ball away.
One ball and 2 strikes.
That's part of what he worked with George Greer on, is that pitch recognition, being able to stay off, recognize it's a breaking ball, recognize that it's going to be out of the strike zone. Don't expand your zone and get yourself out.
Inning started with a strikeout of Piscotty, walk of Jerko, fly out by Molina. 1-2 the count on Randall Grichuk.
Just got a piece of it.
And we'll do it again. 1-2 the count.
Pound him in and try and get that slider away.
Grichuk hits a liner into center field. Hard hit off his bat, but right to center. Cardinals strand a runner, and it's 8-1 St. Louis.
Summer hits South Beach when baseball's biggest stars take to the field for the MLB All-Star Game, July 11th, only on Fox. Mike Leake has been pitching well. There's Alex Mejia. He will take over at third base. Give Jerko a little bit of a rest. Mejia made his major league debut yesterday. 4th round draft pick of the Cardinals, 2012. He was a member of the NCAA champion Arizona Wildcats, and then started at AA this year. Most recently was at AAA, was earlier this month named an All-Star. Base hit over the glove, so Zimmerman gets his second hit off of Mike Leake. Mike's only allowed 5 hits, including 2 to here to Zimmerman.
tied with Vladimir Guerrero in home runs in Expos Nationals history. Ryan Zimmerman 234. Kubota power stats after his base hit. That's how we start play here in the 7th. Here's Daniel Murphy. Daniel Murphy in a Washington uniform now with a .344 average the last 2 years. That's the second best ever over a 2-year period by a second baseman if he can keep this up. The best, Rogers Hornsby, over a 2-year period of second baseman at .370. Could be the third double play turned by the Cardinals, and it is. Started by Mejia, made his major league debut at second base, turned by Garcia.
When he was at Arizona, he was Conference Player of the Year and also the Defensive Player of the Year. So very slick fielder. They're very confident with that. Shocked that he got the call to the big leagues. I hope that shock is worn off.
Anthony Rendon is 0 for 2. He was robbed by Jed Jerko in the 4th. Looks at a pitch low. Batting close to .350 and better than over the past month for the Nationals. This offense is as good as anybody in baseball, but do they have enough in their pen and also enough in their rotation?
And they came into this action almost 100 runs more than the Cardinals have scored this year.
Mike Leake is through 7. 8 pitch. Top of the 7th. Time to stretch. 8-1 Cardinals. Home run. The Gateway Honda dealers will donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri. Mike Leake induced a single high, 3 double plays. This start tonight. 4th time that he's done that in his career. Paul DeYoung with a 2-run homer back in inning number 4.
When you see Leake get all those ground balls, you know things are going well for him.
DeYoung also grounded into a fielder's choice and struck out. Another high fly ball out to center. And Taylor with just enough room. Boy, he is fun to watch, Paul DeYoung.
like I said, you know, he's not intimidated by this scene at all. He's embraced it and had a lot of fun and learning.
One out, nobody on, and here's Greg Garcia. RBI base hit to left and a walk to go along with a strikeout tonight. One ball and one strike. Leak is at the on-deck circle, so looking at the 8th inning and maybe more. Only at 84 pitches tonight. There's a base hit into right field for Garcia.
There you go, Greg.
Locally, Channel 2 on Fox. Budweiser, what's on tap? Michael Wacha, the Nats and the Cardinals at 6. Gio Gonzalez and Michael Wacha. Gio 7-2, the lefty, and Wacha 4-3. Reminder that Sunday's game is on ESPN. And we'll be back with you on Monday night.
Hopefully Michael Wacha can build off of what he did his last start. He was pretty good.
Leak, a base hit into left. Back-to-back singles, and it brings in Carpenter.
Leak swings the bat well. Comes up there with a hit. 1 for 3 and a walk today.
Brings in Carpenter, who started this game offensively for the Cardinals with a 9-pitch hit bat. That's not to be overlooked. Double to right center, scored. That was in inning number 4. He's fly to right and fly to center.
Right, Dan, at first leadoff battle he had with him. It started to work 9 pitches and had a long first inning and an even longer 3rd inning.
As a leadoff hitter, Matt Carpenter came into play batting .284. Anywhere else he was at .209. And since the start of the 2015 season, for whatever reason, Carpenter in the leadoff spot batting .290. Anywhere else in the lineup .217. And that's a large sample size there.
And that's with, you know, he had a tough road trip. He was just 1 for 10 on the trip. But for whatever reason, you can't deny those numbers.
So runners at first and second.
Joe Blanton is starting to warm up in the Nationals bullpen. I'd love to see Turner get through this inning and even finish this game. But Spot is due up 3rd.
Just got a piece to stay alive. 1-2 the count.
Have a 5-run first inning, but all of a sudden he could put 3 or 4 more innings scoreless on top of that, and he looks like he did his job to spare the bullpen.
And a swing and a miss and a strikeout of Carpenter. Plaza Tire Fox Tracks.
Forced strikeout for Turner, bottom of the zone.
Lobaton out to visit. The batter for the Cardinals is Tommy Pham. Mentioned earlier how the Nationals have drafted at the top of most of the drafts to rebuild, while the Cardinals are winning and trying to develop players in the later rounds. The Cardinals tonight's roster have 13 players that they drafted. That includes Tommy Pham, but 13 on their current roster, which is most in the major leagues.
And then, Dan, you add on the guys that are in the big leagues that started in the Cardinal organization, and one of the most productive, and so many guys that, you know, not #1 draft picks, guys down the line that, you know, your scouts really have to find.
That's chopped foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pham with a base hit into right. Walked and scored into third. Grounded out to third and struck out. He's now hit in 5 straight games. And started this game off with a tremendous catch in center field. Nice to see him smile after that catch too. He is Mr. Serious out there.
Never satisfied. Always wants to take his game to a higher level. He was pretty proud of that catch, bringing the ball back into the playing field for the out.
Should have been.
Yeah. And that kind of set the tone too.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Pham hits it down the right field line. That'll slice foul and out of play. Our crowd tonight, 41,398. 41398. Inside to Tommy, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Turner in relief of Roark, who lasted just 3 innings and walked 5. The 2-2. Full count, and the runner's off with his pitch. Here's a 3-2 pitch. Runners go, and it's tapped foul.
As a pitcher, you should always try to avoid having that 2-out full count. Runners running, give up a single, and you give up 2 runs. The 3-2 pitch, and a ground ball that's hit left side.
Glove by Drew, and Pham beats it out. Or did he?
Yeah. They're going to check this one. Drew double clutched on it, and that's why it made it so close, and we'll see.
Crowd saw it on the video board. They're reacting that Tommy Pham is safe. Let's take a look.
Tommy thinks he's safe.
Very close.
And they're going to take a look at it.
He's safe.
I thought he was safe to the naked eye.
I did too. Some of the Nationals start heading back out onto the field.
The biggest question is resetting the runners. Probably will just be.
There will be no issue because, and it's a great point you bring up, Al, because there are certain teams that teach their players, the runners at second base, on those types of plays in particular, to run it all the way out to home plate. And then it's a judgment call as to whether or not to send him back to third. But with that, that's going to be it. It looks like for Justin Turner, his night will be through. It'll be a double switch for Dusty Baker and the Nationals. Joe Blanton, longtime major leaguer, coming on. On Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light, famous among friends, and by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. And the Cardinals will get the bases loaded, an 8-1 score. Defoe takes over at second base, and Joe Blanton is the new pitcher. This is his 22nd appearance.
Long time, hasn't he? He's got over 11 full years of major league experience. He's 36 years of age. Oakland, Philadelphia, the Dodgers, Angels, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Dodgers again, and now with the Nationals.
So it's a challenge that pays off for the Cardinals. Pham, the infield hit. The Cardinals with 11 hits and an 8-1 lead. Piscotty on the first pitch, pops it up to the right side. Zimmerman over, Defoe there, and it is Zimmerman with the catch. Leak back to work when we come back. Cardinals. And Mike Leake back to work. 7 innings, 5 hits. He's given up 1 run that was earned. He's walked 2 and struck out 3. Very economical. 85 pitches. And the first pitch is taken for a ball by Stephen Drew, and we're underway here in the top of the 8th.
Drew 0 for 2, but he had good numbers against League coming in.
The Boston Red Sox released Alan Craig today.
Really? Never. Just a mystery.
And if you're wondering, it was Johnny Peralta picked up by the Red Sox. They need some help at third base. He's been at Pawtucket, their AAA affiliate, and it's a leadoff walk. StubHub, your ticket out to once-in-a-lifetime experiences, from Cardinal games to amazing concerts to shows you just don't want to miss. StubHub connects you with the world of live. StubHub, your ticket out, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals. Jose Lobaton 0 for 2.
Adrian Sanchez, who was just called up today, is going to run for Drew.
Cardinals have turned 3 double plays tonight. One off the bat of Daniel Murphy in the 4th. Another off his bat in the 7th. Bryce Harper, a double play in the 6th. Sometimes it's not only turning the double play, but who's at the plate when you turn it. It's Murphy and Harper.
Yeah, big sticks. Turn them into a double, 2 outs and everything. You said, Dan, Club playing consistently much better defensively.
Strikeout of Lobaton. Plaza Tire Service, Fox Tracks. Good late movement. He's had that pitch going tonight, that cutter slider, which was a very effective pitch for him in the first month or so. Wilmer Defoe. Back to Leake. Out at second. The 4th double play turned by the Cardinals tonight. This one started by Leake. It's an 8-pitch inning. He may go the distance tonight. The Cardinals have turned 4 double plays. All St. Louis here in game 1. It's 8-1. Go Mike Leake. It looked like Mike Matheny was going to ask him, do you want to complete it? This is maybe where we're leaning, and he said, yep, that's good. And the Cardinals then will go to their bullpen. That'll be it for Mike Leake, but boy, was he good tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He did his job, going 8 innings, allowed 5 hits, struck out 4, walked 3. That's high for him, but just 1 run allowed and 4 big double plays.
Alex Mejia took over at third base, looking for his first ever major league hit. Our next telecast will be Monday when Miami is in town. The 1-1 pitch. Mejia with a pop up to the right side. Harper is over and makes the catch.
Blanton's retired the 2 men that he has faced.
Derek Fryer will be the pinch hitter.
Tuivalala gets the 9th inning.
One out and nobody on. Wonder if Michael Gersh, if it's a win tonight, goes to bed, sleeps a little easier as opposed to when you lose as the general manager.
You know, he's going to have a record now.
The hours that these guys put in. I mean, John Mozeliak's a guy that's spring training. He'll be there 5 o'clock, 5:30. Won't leave until 6:30, 7 o'clock at night.
Dan, I was talking with Jock Jones, assistant hitting coach for the Nationals today. We're just talking about how hard the coaches work. And I mean, the hours they put in, it's just incredible. Used to be a manager would hire, you know, he'd have his drinking buddy, would be one of his coaches and everything. And now you better hire guys that like to work and want to work, guys that can teach. And you know, it's a different ball game now. You got to take people that you can trust, you know, that try and help you out, because it's a great gig.
Popped up by Grichuk, foul territory. That'll be it for Mike Leake. And Leake is through. Tuivalala will take over, try to finish it off when we come back. right, looking forward to the post-game show. Sam Tuivailala takes over in our Chevy. Called to the pen in relief of 8 innings from Mike Leake tonight. He was great.
Good to see that. Not an off day until the All-Star break, so bullpen, starters, position players are all going to get plenty of work next on this homestand. Hopefully we make up some ground.
Here's Brian Goodwin to lead it off. And a fastball at 96 taken for ball 1. Tuivailala, no stranger to 9th innings. Closer down in Memphis. This not a save situation. 1-0 pitch.
Every time he takes the mound, though, any of these young pitchers, it's very important for them to go out there, do the job, throw strikes, and remember too, you're always auditioning for other ball clubs.
3-0. Cardinals with 4 double plays turned behind Mike Leake. 3-0 pitch, and there's a strike. The 3-1 is hammered out to right field. Goodwin on his way to second base. Tenth extra base hit for Goodwin in his last 18 games. Budweiser players of the game. Mike Leake, the starter, 8 innings, 5 hits, gave up a run. Yadier Molina drives in 4. A pair of singles that brought in 2 apiece. Also scored a run. Budweiser players of the game.
And extends that hitting streak to 15 games.
Here's Michael Taylor. Single off the glove of Jerko. Singled off the glove of Leake, then picked off by Mike Leake. And walked back in the 6th.
The Nationals paid a heavy price to get Adam Eaton, and he's out for the year, but they've always had Michael Taylor and been waiting for him just to come through. He's had many opportunities, having his best season at the big league level. Let's think about this pitching staff. They tried to get Chris Sale, and when they couldn't make that deal to get Chris Sale to join their rotation, then they said, okay, we'll take Adam Eaton.
A lot of money invested in Gio Gonzalez, who goes tomorrow. Max Scherzer, he'll pitch on Sunday. 1-1 is foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes. If you're a baseball fan, Busch Stadium Sunday night, that's the place to be with Scherzer and Martinez. Chance to see Bryce Harper potentially for the final time in town here in 2017, unless these two teams would meet in postseason play. Washington took 2 of 3 earlier this year. Ground ball that's hit to short. It was Paul DeYoung, their Nissan drive of the game. A 2-run homer. And DeYoung now is 6th this year, the Nissan drive of the game. Here's Bryce Harper. I wonder if part of the idea of going for broke and loading up with contracts that some are backloaded is the fact that Harper is a free agent after next year. So go for broke while he's still wearing that Nationals uniform. It's not to say that he won't be beyond next year, but you just don't know.
And also their principal owner is like 90 years of age, and trying to win one for him I've read where they Mike Rizzo, their general managers, put together a couple deals to help their ball club, particularly at late inning relief, and ownership not really saying they're willing to take on more salary.
Last year they finished with Mark Melanson. They tried Jonathan Papelbon.
I remember they have 3 really good, young arms, but nobody's been able to grab that closer's role and hold on to it.
2-1 the strike on the inside corner. Runner at second is Goodwin. 1 out here in the top of the 9th. Pitch inside, scoots away from Fryer.
The Nationals have a nice lead right now, but if you can't re-sign Harper, say you have a total collapse of the team because of that bullpen, what could he bring?
3-1 pitch, and it's taken outside. Brings in Ryan Zimmerman. See if the Cardinals can't turn one more double play. We've seen 4 tonight. Zimmerman a couple of hits in the 4th and the 7th, 2 singles. Struck out back in the 1st.
341 is average.
Mentioned that he's tied with Vladimir Guerrero, Expos Nationals history. All-time in Washington pro baseball history. He's 4 back of Frank Howard, all-time for home runs hitting that city.
Frank Howard, 6'8", probably close to 300 pounds.
Hit out of play as Harper was running on the pitch, and it's 0-2.
A giant of a man, and now you got players that are bigger than that playing today.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Breaking ball. Popped up into shallow right. Going out Garcia. And makes the catch. Potentially a dangerous situation there. Looked like Piscotty was trying to call him off.
Well, it looked like Scotty was coming down, and this late to probably not that much of a confusion, or you can't hear, but as an infielder you go back until you're called off on it. And you can see Piscotty didn't look like he was calling and was under control, wasn't going to run into him.
So 2 outs. Adam Lind will be the pinch hitter. Nationals down to their final out. Cardinals 1 out away from winning game 1 of this 3-game set. The fastball taken for a strike.
Shaping up to be a pretty good start to this homestand. Final one for the first half.
0-2. Fielders indifference as Harper takes second base. Two strikes on Adam Lind. The 0-2. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. The Cardinals take game 1 by the final of 8-1.
Outstanding ball game for the Cardinals all the way around. Mike Leake was special. The offense came through. Defense was very good, turning 4 double plays behind Mike Leake. And a good victory here. They pick up a game on the Cubs, and we'll find out later on where they get one on Milwaukee.
8-1 the final. Defense a part of the story here tonight. Tommy Pham with that great catch in center to start our night. Ball to Young, another home run. The Cardinals with 11 hits, and they turn 4 double plays. Tommy Pham, a smile, and he's loving it. 8-1 the final. Post game next.